With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Welcome to Mid-Ohio for round number 4 of the PRL INDYCAR Fixed Series here live on RaceSpotTV. It is time for another road course round after the chaos of Lime Rock Park only 1 week ago. We're here on road courses again before our visit to an oval. Gateway comes in just 7 days' time. It's myself, Ian O'Leary, Lorenzo Ponda with you for this round of the championship. Good to be alongside you for this one at Lorenzo, Mid-Ohio, a classic INDYCAR circuit playing host to round 4.
Yeah, absolutely. We just went on Road America at the beginning of the season for what would be round 1, but then we didn't actually take that. We started a little bit later, but now we're going to our truly first INDYCAR road of the season, which is Mid-Ohio. It's a little bit different than Lime Rock, a little more overtaking opportunities, but still highly truncated and very fast like Lime Rock.
As I say, the next to the ovals is in 1 week's time before our week off for the Super Bowl, and then we'll have 4 weeks in a row to bring us to the title, which will be decided at Pocono. Very excited for that, by the way. That's going to be a fantastic finale. And it's been a fantastic season so far as well. Jake Vasconcelos and Dave Menino only separated by 3 points. Vasconcelos has only got 1 podium, and he's not won yet. That's how crazy this season has been so far. Daniel Krainfuss is third, ahead of Brandon Walter, who's got a few points over James O'Brien. Then it's Jordan Curnow, who is in 6th place, just ahead of Willie Brennan. Nathan Ray, Steve Baker and Mark McDonald round out the top 10 in the driver's standings. In the teams, it's even closer. Team Hype and SRT Orange are separated by just 1 point, with Rust Racing, Oxide and Regenberg Motorsports also over 200 points. SRT Green next, followed by the 2 Solpec teams. Then it's Rust Racing Iron in 8th place, ahead of Hyperion Racing and Screeching Moose Motorsports, rounding out the top 10 in the teams' standings. Only a few below them, by the way, in those teams' standings. Before we go any further, time to thank the sponsors who make these broadcasts possible, starting with Logitech G. Logitech G wheels and pedals are equipped with true force feedback to help you feel the road and own the race. Use code PRECISION at checkout on logitechg.com for 5 to 10% off your purchase. Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. At the Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more, visit moradness.com. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And finally, Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. We are just about 10 minutes away from the end of qualifying, which is open as always. And a couple of statistics, by the way, for you before we probably get into it. This is total race in the PRL number 2,120. I know that's not a very round number or very memorable either, but tonight we will be going over 55,000 kilometres in PRL racing in open wheel machinery. That is a lot of kilometres. I don't know what that's the distance from and to, by the way, 55,000, but it's a very long way, and that's what we'll be crossing here tonight at Mid-Ohio. But it's good to have IndyCar back. It's not been the IndyCar that's been racking up those kilometres for quite some time, but what a great start to the season we've had. And Dave Menino, who's currently on the top of this qualifying session at the moment, is one of those drivers who's been providing the entertainment so far, and he's only 3 points off the championship lead coming into tonight's race.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, and we should expect another great outing from Menino today as well. I was looking at some of the results from the official week because the calendar of the PRL Fixed Series basically mirrors what goes week by week on the iRacing IndyCar Fixed Series. So it's basically been a swap between Menino and Vasconcelos, seen from the drivers here up at the top. I saw maybe a few names here and there as well that could like make a surprise in this track, but then again, we can basically see these two duke it out onto the end. Because one thing I can definitely say about Mid-Ohio from driving experience, like I said before, not easy to overtake, wastes a lot of time. It's a track that wastes lots of tire. It's very taxing on the tires. So strategy over here, maybe try to go for an undercut or especially an overcut will be essential for you to survive on this race, especially for a timed race.
Very good evening to everyone, by the way, who's watching along here on RaceSpotTV. I did do the maths. It's apparently one way around the world and a third. So that's a very long way, 55,000 kilometres, as it turns out. I was thinking between cities.
Wait.
Sorry, go on.
I have a question, though. Should we trust your math as Ian Green goes up in the top? Because never trust the commentator's math.
Well, I did Google it, so that would be Google's maths.
Okay. Then we can trust Father Google.
We hopefully can. I reckon that's a... Well, I didn't check to see if it was a reputable source, to be fair. I just sort of read it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Kent Miller makes his way through the final few corners at the moment. This is on the way down towards Thunder Valley at turn 10, where the wall gets very close indeed before you chuck it into 11 at great speed in these cars. There's a real traffic jam as well. It's only 1:08 the pole time at the moment for Mark McDonald, and there's nearly 30 of them out on the circuit. 25 of them are in the session at the moment, and so this being an open session is going to mean that traffic surely will be a bit of a problem.
No, it will. It's hard for you to find air in this track, and especially in some portions where it can get very truncated, and you might need a little bit of room. And of course, this track you can make a lot of mistakes, especially when you try to do a fast lap, and you go after, I would say, right after the S's, which would be what, around turns 6 and 7, 5 and 4, which is the roller coaster, is hard as well. So from 5 and 4, 4 and 5 and onwards, all the way outside Thunder Valley, hold your breath, pray to God that your car don't spin, and just get your lines right, because it is so easy for you to make a mistake, block, not only invalidate your lap, but block someone else's as well.
As Greg Seitz goes to the top of the standings, 3/10 quicker than anybody else at the moment. Michelin Green is one of those who's trying to overhaul that time at the moment. Mark McDonald isn't going to on this lap. He's very much backed off just for now, as has Dave Menino, actually. Steve Baker and Daniel Krainfuss, I think, will be giving it a go. That was a very near spin for Michelin Green, and that'll be that for him. Josh Conker has got the most pole positions this season so far, with 2 out of 3 races so far, but he's quite uncharacteristically down in 9th place at the moment, and quite a long way off pole.
I think the fact that round 1 at Spa promised so much for Conker, and he had the issue somewhere, I think was to the early mid portion of the race, and eventually had to basically do a comeback race of sorts. It shows his ability with the car and all, but begs the question is what happened in between to make sure that he's in 9th place, not somewhere up in the top. as Cranefuss just goes into third place right now.
And there is Lucas Santos in 19th currently. 20th now in the qualifying order, but good that we've got a chance to look at the setup for a couple of these drivers. And Santos being one of them, although he does have a big spin on the way through the middle sector. That was coming out of turn 7. Where you're just trying to squeeze on the power and sort of get turned around through the S's as well. It can get all very difficult, and unfortunately it did get a bit too difficult there for Santos, as Daniel Cranefuss now is going again. He's the only one inside the top 4 who's really going for this at the moment. Through turn 8 he goes, and then towards 9, just misses the apex there slightly and slides on the way out the corner as well. Not an ideal run through there for the Rush driver. Oh, and there's somebody right on the racing line there too. That wasn't ideal at all, and he's off. Daniel Cranefuss off, and I'm not sure whether that lap was unravelling anyway, but the driver right on the rating line there before turn 10 and 11 certainly wasn't helping.
No, not at all. And unfortunately here at Road America, not Road America, Mid-Ohio rather, it's very hard for you to find a good spots for you to, give way to traffic over here. This is why open session makes it a little bit more chaotic and hence a little bit more fun. Add a little bit that invariable of who's on track, who's doing a fast lap, who's doing an out lap, and trying to manage tires. So everything that we go on over here needs to be counted for, and we are already seeing some driver make mistakes just because of that traffic of guys on the out lap.
As we go back to Lucas Santos again, it's just following somebody very closely there, but now he's going to be getting on past and into the next few corners. He will end his lap, currently 20th place, 109.4, his current best. Surely he is going to go faster than that though, as he makes his way over the line, and he looks to have done. Oh no, that's just around about the time he did before, but ever so slightly slower. Mike McDonald, meanwhile, making his way now into the middle sector. At the moment, this has got the looks of a session that might well just hold out here for Greg Seitz, but there's just less than 4 minutes to go, and there's still plenty of drivers still trying to improve.
Yeah, I'm still gonna say maybe don't count Vasconcelos out, maybe don't count Menino out. They can pull a really fast lap. We saw that in a few qualifiers already, especially on the roadside. So it's gonna be basically an interesting topic if they actually get on front. If there's one thing I can say to you with all confidence, don't stay in the middle of the pack in this track. You don't want to be sitting anywhere, I would say, from 8th place backwards. Otherwise, it's just battle royale at Mid-Ohio.
Certainly is. As Guillaume Palpin makes his way into the final few corners, we're certainly going to be able to spot him in a crowd as he makes his way now round the very long turn 12, the carousel. Named correctly, I would say, and then over the line in the 108s this time, but that's no quicker than what he's managed before, unfortunately for him. McDonald carries on again. Oh, Cranefuss is so often sideways when we're watching him here, and he's throwing it a bit too hard there into turn 9. He'll just back off and figure himself out for the next lap. Steve Baker, he is improving now. We'll see if the Solpec driver can move on up now from 5th position. He's ever so slightly inside, half a second off of Greg Seitz at the moment. Bit wide. I think he'll get away with that as far as off tracks are concerned. He flies in towards turn 11, now braking round the corner at turn 12. So difficult to do this, but he's got this car absolutely planted to the ground as Mark McDonald goes up to 2nd place. Is he going to be bumped off immediately by Baker? He certainly is. Steve Baker goes up to 2nd place, so that's a very strong lap time indeed from him.
No, that's a nice lap. Now Ken Miller goes into 3rd place, so laps are starting to, rack up a little bit more. I thought it was going to go off track outside Thunder Valley right there, but kept the car in control. You can see Mark McDonald getting some draft from his teammates. I don't know if that arrow push is going to, affect him of sorts, or if that traffic that he has in terms of teammates is going to affect him in this lap. But so far, really good qualifying session for everybody.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange bit of teamwork there, to be honest, but
yeah,
that's what they've gone for. And there's another one here coming up towards Thunder Valley. So Mark McDonald will be trying to use this to get back onto that front row, which he ever so briefly held before being displaced by Steve Baker and then Ken Miller as well, who's up to third place at the moment. Just over a minute to go yet in qualifying, as McDonald now makes his way up towards and over the line. He doesn't improve from there. He's got one more chance here, and he's got another lap or a teammate up ahead of him here, but it is strange teamwork going on between these guys, I must admit.
Yeah, same. I agree 100%.
See what they're doing towards the back straight this time round. See if they... Oh, he's gone wide anyway there. McDonald, this might be that anyway, but let's see what happens here. In towards turn 4. Is the teammate going to stay up ahead right the way into the corner and then pull off before 5 like they did last lap? No, they'll stay in front this time, and actually they're sort of getting in the way.
Yeah, and not only that, but it's making Mark scrub his tires a little bit more, especially through the roller coaster. And you need the car straight over here on Thunder Valley. Don't overdrive the car a little bit. This is skid, which is really good. But the problem is you're not getting any jump whatsoever, and then you're burning up your tire temperature a little bit more just because you have your teammate in front of you. That's making sure you're losing a tiny bit of time.
I'm not sure this is going to be an improvement for McDonald, but he's going to give it a go. He has persevered with the lap, so he must be feeling he can improve here over the line. I don't think it is an improvement. No, it's an 8.1, which is a couple of steps slower than what he managed before. Adam McDonald now is making his way up towards the line as well. Not sure any of these guys are really improving. Jake Vasconcelos is only 9th at the moment. He's the current points leader with some work to do. Just one position behind Josh Conk. Oh, and there's maybe a story as to how his session's been going.
One thing we can say, the luck of the dog is definitely not with him on this qualifying.
No, he doesn't look like that. He's just submitted that as his picture for Jake Vasconcelos. And there's Josh Conker, who has qualified down in 8th place. 2 pole positions to him so far this season, but not this time round. Greg Seitz has taken it on this occasion, and it's for the 31st time in the PRL. He's actually at 9th all time, 10th all time as far as pole positions go. He now holds 10th place on his own. He was previously sharing that with Sean Campbell, but now he is a holder of that position on his own. A 3-time winner in the PRL, all in open wheel machinery. Certainly knows how to deal with this type of car, but in IndyCar he hasn't been championing before, of course. So he has taken pole position this time round, but unfortunately the season so far hasn't been going quite so well for him. He's 25th, having DNF'd his first 2 races, finishing 2nd 1 week ago at Lime Rock Park. But this is the best possible start he could have had to his afternoon here at Mid-Ohio. As we look across the plains of the state and the surrounding area of this racetrack. We'll have a look in a moment at the pole lap and the starting grid, indeed, as we get through warm-up here at Mid-Ohio. And here is the pole lap, Lorenzo. This is going to be from quite a long time ago in the session, actually. But Greg Seitz just getting this one hooked up for a time that not even he could beat in the last 5 to 10 minutes.
No, absolutely, and you can see one clear thing that he hasn't done in comparison to other people is use any traffic. I think he's just trying to get the lines right, make sure the car doesn't skid off on the re-acceleration over here outside of the keyhole. Is a really good area. You don't want to skid your car off when you're regaining speed.
Down on the brakes now through turn 4. It's actually more flowing than you'd think, this corner, and then just briefly accelerating again before 5. This is where the rises and falls of this circuit do come into play a little bit more. But look how he's got the car hooked up there through the right-hander, then just smoothly through the left, then making this into one turn, and he's done that with only one bite of the cherry. Absolutely precision perfect from Greg Seitz. Get over to the wall on the right-hand side here before chucking it in high speed at the top of the hill at 11. Then braking round the carousel. Not a hint of oversteer, not a hint of correction, not a hint of hesitation. That was absolutely planted, and you can see why Greg Seitz couldn't beat that. That was, I mean, I can't really pick any faults with that lap at all.
No, I can't either. I think this is as good as it gets, you know. Like I said before, Mid-Ohio is a very hard track. It's a very flowy track, especially outside of the roller coaster, going through the S's, and then setting yourself up to Thunder Hill, Thunder Valley, is so tricky. And I say, I talk this from experience. I've drove so many times in this track. It's hard for you to nail the perfect lap.
At 99 degrees Fahrenheit on the circuit, that is towards the late 30s for those of you in Celsius land. We are racing in the middle of May in Sim, so the temperatures are just a little bit higher. In fact, the race dates are all in the middle of May this season in the IndyCar Series. It's the only of the series to be doing this, keeping us effectively racing on the 15th of May every race. Although the time of day we're starting does change, starting at 3:15 in this session. At least we did earlier. I thought, or we're meant to. So we'll see how that goes when we get to the race itself. While we're in warm-up, we'll have a look at the starting grid for this race, because there are certainly a couple of surprises waiting in store for us. The points leader, for example, barely making the top 10. But Greg Seitz has taken pole position. It's his 31st pole in the PRL, ahead of Dave Menino, who is just second place in the points. It's been up there ever since his race win on opening night at Spa. It is Steve Baker and Ken Miller on row 2, with Mark McDonald and Mitchell Ian Green and All Rush Racing row 3 to begin this race. Daniel Cranefuss, also of the Rush team, is in 7th, ahead of Josh Conker, who's taken 2 poles so far, but not added to his tally this time round. Then points leader Jake Vasconcelos down in 9th, ahead of SRTE teammate J.R. Williams. Stephen Barrady and Adam McDonald round out the top 12. Now we get to over a second off pole. Lucas Santos with a late jump up through the field in 13th, but of Nathan Ray, Guillaume Potvin and Jordan Kernow rounded out row 8, with Brett Furman and Mark Kalin on the next row. Kalin, by the way, moving up to 3rd in the all-time starters list in the PRO. Brett Pancari and Willie Brennan are on row 10, ahead of Carsten Quint and Jean-Marc Cormier. Then it's Richard Swindels and Nicholas Collender on row 12, and James O'Brien didn't set a time, the reigning Sunday night PRO champion, because in the NASCAR series. He is going to be starting from the back if he starts at all. And right now, I can't say that. Oh no, he's in warm-up, so clearly just not qualifying on this occasion. A good evening to everyone who's watching along. A lot of support coming in for Ken Miller, it looks like, here this afternoon for whatever reason, including Walter Miller. I'm guessing there's some relation there, but I don't know what. So yeah, he'll be looking to go well from the top 10 early on. Was as high as the front 2 rows actually throughout that qualifying session, and there he is just warming himself up. And Matt Scherf also is cheering for Willie Brennan here tonight by the looks of things. He's decided not to partake in warm-up, and he's just going to wait for the race itself to begin. It's always an interesting race start here, Lorenzo, because we don't have a start line. Well, we don't have a start-finish line. We've just got a start line, and it's a little bit weird, but it probably helps with the racing, and a good chance on this first lap to make up some early positions.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting, especially now that the pushes around time is not based upon uses like it was back in the old days. You only had 10 pushes. Here you can use up to 200 seconds, so I can see many guys going right off the get-go, using the push to pass to try to go and make an overtake on the keyhole and try to use the back straight leading to turn number 4. That's where we can see maybe a few incidents over there, which is probably the key passing point in this track. But it's going to be a really good battle between everybody. And like I said before, I think this goes more on strategy, trying to save fuel, trying to save your push to pass. Minding the tires a little bit because it does overheat quite easily if you push the car way too much. So looking forward to see you this next hour of racing.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely fascinating as the grid now gets lined up. There's the shots of them. 1 hour put up on the clock, and a lap count as well, so we'll see which comes first, but we'll be ready to go in just a few moments time. The formation lap will begin, and everyone will pull out of the front straight around turn number 1. On the front row, Greg Seitz and Dave Menino, as the conditions have just cooled down a little bit. 10 degrees cooler on the track temperature. It's 4 p.m. in Sim, so clearly I've been reading the qualifying start time. in sim rather than the race. Apologies for that. 4 p.m. in sim starting time. It means it'll be just after 5 when we finish, and that really could see the temperatures take a bit of a nosedive in the latter part of this race, but it is May, so the sun won't exactly be going in any. It will just be a temperature thing as they now make their way down the back straight and towards the middle sector on this opening lap. Going to be key here for Greg Seitz to channel that pole lap and hold on to his pole position and indeed turn that into an early race lead, but he's going to be challenged here. I honestly don't know where to call this race. I think all of the top 10 probably have a decent chance of winning. There's a real open field to this one.
I agree. If there's one thing about Mid-Ohio, there's a lot of attrition rate. You have to respect the other driver. You have to respect the track. It bites easily, especially with the reds. You know, the alternate compound being a little bit tricky for you to go around, and and basically get you off in areas normally you would say, oh, okay, I'm prepared for this. For example, here on the S's, it's very easy for you to make a mistake with worn tires. So you can see a lot of drivers making quintessential spins that might throw off their race. So they have to be mindful from start to finish that your tire compound matters, your tire usage matters, your strategy matters. And we're seeing already some guys inside the top 5. I think that's 4th place on the inside row that is outrighting using the primary compound instead of the alternates like everybody else is doing on the top 10.
It looks like Nicholas Colander, by the way, has decided to start from pit lane completely, so that's a different strategy entirely to begin this race. But the lights are off on top of the pace car. It will now pull to the left in towards pit lane, and we will be pretty much ready to go. Greg Seitz will be in control of the field, and we are racing on the way towards turn number 1. Inside line for Seitz, and he's got it through the left-hander. Then it is Dave Menino, and side by side, meanwhile, for third, Ken Miller versus Steve Baker, and it's almost free wide here. Oh, that was not going to work, and they just back out of things. Baker on the outside line, Miller on the inside line, and he gets through there. Picture in green does as well. So Steve Baker down a couple of positions early on here. Oh no, it's gone wrong there at the corner. There's a crash up further on in the background, I'm afraid, and it's Jake Vasconcelos, the points leader, who's involved in it. The points leader involved in a crash out of turn number 2 on this opening lap, as is Stephen Faraday, who's got into contact with him. A disaster for Jake Vasconcelos on lap 1.
Well, we're going to have to look on the replay and see what happened to Jake Vasconcelos, to his race to be basically ended so abruptly, basically on the 2nd and 3rd corner of this track.
Well, that is big news for this championship. He will have to take this as his drop round, supposedly, Jake Vasconcelos, unless he can rescue something from this race, but it's not looking great for him at the moment. This is the midfield as they come through the final corner and out over the line at the end of lap number 1 of 50. Got an hour's time limit. It should actually match up quite well. It should 50 laps should take about an hour, so it's going to be very similar, but it should be 50 laps over the course of today. We'll see how it goes through turn 2 into turn 2, I should say, for these midfield drivers. This is stemming right from Josh Conker, who made a really great start. He's up to 5th place, and I think he was the one looking at a 3-wide moment perhaps in towards turn 2 on the opening lap, but he just backed out of it. He's made some great places though early on.
Yeah, I think he put himself in a really good place of trying to put in pressure on the other drivers. I think got also, confident on pushing the blacks a little bit more, the primary tire, I think giving a little bit more grip than he probably wanted to, pushing the tire out a little bit more. I think scrubbing those tires might be a good thing for him early on. Of course, he's not going to have the same speed as everybody else early on as well on the alternates. You're going to have that small advantage like you're seeing right there with Steve Baker.
That's what happened between Vasconcelos and Faraday. Looked like I'm not sure which of those were on the outside, but whoever was doing the squeezing there was doing far too much of it.
What it looks like.
Yeah, that was not great, I'm afraid.
Actually, the opposite. Vasconcelos did the T-bone move on him.
There's the end result. They've both been in pit lane, by the way. Faraday's still in pit lane, actually. Vasconcelos is back out again in 24th. But yeah, I'm afraid that's a case, a simple case, really, of the driver on the inside not giving enough space to the driver on the outside, and they both paid the price for it.
Yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate. But then turn 2 is so tricky when you go side by side, especially early on, because the tires somewhat equal out of sorts on the exit, but the alternate is because it gives you a little bit more speed early on. You can push more right? So that's why we're seeing that situation. Unfortunately, I think that's why Vasconcelos and Verdi found themselves outside of the corner and resulted in a crash.
And even more unfortunate for Vasconcelos probably is that Menino is right up towards the front and taking advantage of this crash for Vasconcelos. He set the fastest lap there as well. He's keeping pace very well with Greg Sykes at the front of the field. Meanwhile, we've got Mark Kalin in pit lane. That's who's dropping down on the left-hand side, in case you saw, as Michelin Green gets down the inside at turn 2. They both brake very late. In fact, Ken Miller trying to work it round the outside. It's not going to happen, though, I'm afraid. And Green will get through. That's a pretty slam-dunk pass in towards turn 2. Will he come back again, though? Through turn 3 and down towards turn 4. You can hang it round the outside here to get the inside for 5, but he's not going to manage it. And Ken Miller will lose out in the end on 3rd place.
Yeah, and I think Ken is struggling a little bit on the primaries because you can see already Josh Conker up to 4th place just before the S's. So the team hype driver, using the really good work on these primary tires, maybe going on a more aggressive anti-roll bar setting to try to extract more of the tires than what Ken Miller is actually doing.
Nathan Ray's gone off as well, by the way, in the latter part of the order. He's now dropped down to 20th place. So a mistake on lap number 4 for Nathan Ray. And here it is, actually. Someone's rejoining right ahead of him. He spins up the rear tyres on the exit of turn 4. It's not going to be, it's 5, I should say. That's not going to be the last time we see that. The elevation change through this middle sector makes it very difficult indeed.
It is brutal. I've seen top-level drivers make that mistake, try to re-accelerate the car, and the car just steps out of you because the car gets slide on the on the rear. You put all the weight towards the auto zone re-acceleration. You want to try to get the grip out of the car, and the car is not going to give you that grip, and then that thing happens.
So difficult to take for Nathan Ray as they continue on in this race, and everybody else races past him effectively here. Oh, off for Mark McDonald. Out of that's exactly what we were just talking about. Off through turn 9. He just spun up the rear tyres again as he went over the crest of another hill at this circuit, and he knows it straight. Oh, that front left tyre's absolutely finished. Look at that. It's wobbling around like you've never seen before. That's oh dear, that's not going to turn very well. He's going to have trouble getting this in pit lane here, Mark McDonald. Just watch for the lack of steering here. Yeah, he's going to go straight off again there if he's not careful. And that's a trip to pit lane. Such an unfortunate one. That's exactly what we're talking about with the rises and falls of this circuit.
Yeah, and that's why basically this track takes no prisoners. When we said Lime Rock was chaotic, I think Mid-Ohio is a little bit more chaotic just because it is a well-known track, but it's so hard for you to drive. And we see over there on the replay the exact pinpoint thing we were talking about. Try to get back up to speed. The tires are not still up to temporal or nominal temperature. And you can even see one thing also, I don't know if you noticed that, there's a little bit of the bounce of the car. The car gets jumpy into the exit of Thunder Valley, and that's why it makes the re-acceleration so much more difficult.
This is an hour of treacherous conditions for all of these drivers at the moment, as we follow the battle for 4th place. Josh Conker's recently got this, of course, after passing Ken Miller, who's been struggling early on here in this one. Steve Baker just in behind, but you were talking earlier about different tyre compounds here. I guess I'm inferring from what you're saying. This race may well come to Ken Miller a little bit later on, even if he's losing out right now.
No, I think Ken is in a very good spot. I would say if he pits around, I would say... Let me just take a quick look. 9th place. If Cornell makes the overtakes and he gets up to 9th, I would say that's a really good prime position for maybe get inside in the top 5 easily. And if he manages his reds as well, who knows, potentially top 3 if anybody else in the front makes a mistake, because you're putting all the pressure and all the extra work in those tires right now in the early portion of the race, that's not a bad strategy at all for you to make.
However, is it not a concern that Josh Conqueror has got past, because he's on the same strategy after all? Josh Conqueror has made 4 places so far on this race start.
Oh, I agree. I would say from all the drivers right now in this track, I would say Josh right now is my favorite for maybe to get inside the podium if we're just talking, you know, drivers who can really make a difference so far in this one. 4 places up, of course. Mitchell Eden Green is 3 spots up in 3rd place, but then again, he's on the red, so he's going to suffer a little bit more. And we've seen Josh, you know, his pace at road tracks is really good. What about the next one?
Sorry, that was close for the lead there. Greg Seitz under a lot of pressure from Dave Menino, who's having another look down the inside at turn 6, but it's not going to happen. Now, these two, again, are on the same strategy, and they're effectively the leaders of their strategy, going on the red stripes early and suffering maybe a little bit later on. We'll see if they actually do end up suffering and how much if they do, but they are racing each other, and surely, even though they are going to be racing for a win probably later on, they've got to put their differences aside surely at the moment and wait for a little bit later to fight, because if they fight too hard between themselves, then somebody else surely is going to come right past them both.
No, absolutely, and I'm trying to look on the lap data over here. They just done a 9.3, and one thing we know from the Reds, that's only going to get worse, right? That always progressively gets worse. So if at one point, I would say maybe in about 4 laps, 5 laps total, this red is already going to start suffering to those in the primaries, and we should see the primaries.
Oh, contact! Oh my goodness me! Dave Menino and Greg Seitz have both got off the road here in a humongous accident down at turn 4. They've ended up at China Beach down there in the gravel, and Michelin Green's going to lead this race. A spectacular crash between the leaders. Oh my word! Greg Seitz and Dave Menino have done exactly what we told them not to. Save the fighting for later, we said. They weren't listening, and now they've absolutely had it in terms of their chances to win this race.
I'm mind boggled. I thought they were going to make this corner side by side at least. Wow, man, what is happening in this race, man?
Well, this is quite remarkable. Jordan Kerr, oh wow, that's a big crash for Dave Menino. How he's not found the wall down there, I don't know. But it just looked like a bit of a misjudgment, to be honest, from Menino. He tried to get past Seitz on the right-hand side. He misjudged it effectively. Just went straight into the back of Seitz and vaulted over him.
Yeah, we nearly had a Fernando Alonso moment, a Spa on track. Wow, sheesh.
Now, does Seitz move in the braking here, or does he really misjudge this?
He misjudged it.
It's hard to tell from there, but I don't know if I saw a little bit of movement to the right from Seitz, just before the braking zone there.
But that's where the turn-in is for the Reds. So you can see he's already setting up the move. He doesn't anticipate that that Menino is going to make that move right there. I think that's a little bit of misjudgment on Menino in my part, but that's why I see Mid Ohio is really hard on racing. Kids keep racing, but it's so hard for you to overtake.
Yeah, I don't think there was any movement actually in the end. Having had another look at that, it's just a huge bit of contact between Dave Menino and Greg Seitz, who, by the way, is still in pit lane. Menino came straight in there, made his pit stop, and he's back out again. He's actually right behind Jake Vasconcelos. So would you believe it? The top two in the championship, Jake Vasconcelos and Dave Menino, are now down the order fighting for 17th place. The points leaders fighting for 17th place. What a remarkable start to this race.
I think this is the most weird race we've had in the season so far. By a long shot. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Ewan. You've commentated on Lime Rock, not me.
It's difficult to say with certainty, but it probably is, to be honest, in terms of craziness so far. Well, Michelin Green is the new leader, and he's still on those red stripe tyres, by the way. These are all primary runners further back, apart from Jordan Kernow, who's spending most of his red stripe time passing other people, which is not great for his race, but he's having to do it because he started so deep in the pack. So he'll be the one to watch, I'd imagine, in this group for the next few moments, but the gap will continue to extend to green, and then the question will be for Josh Conker and Ken Miller and the rest of them, can they chase him down and pass him again before the end of this race? There's still a very long way to go in this one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would say this 7.5 second gap that Ian Green has right now, still nothing. I would still say Ian Green might have the lead right now, but wait until maybe lap 15. That's where the primaries really get on the get-go. The car is lighter. The rubber are already setting in on those cars. I expect Conker to go faster lap by lap on a very consistent basis before the pit stop as well.
Let's just have a look at lap times this time round, because Josh Conker last time round did a 1:13.0. So that's not representative at all. Michelin Green goes over the line. 9.4 from him, 9.4 from Conker as well. It seems that we are getting to that stage now. We're reaching that equalisation point now, where the two tyres are very similar on pace. Now we may well start to see things go the other way, and what's that going to do to Jordan Kernow here? Because he's still on the red stripe tyres and he's still embedded within primary traffic right now. He's looking for an exit here on Steve Baker as he comes out of turn 2. He'll be in the slipstream. He might be on the button as well as he makes his way down in towards turn 4. And there could be a move. He doesn't want to let him go through here, Baker, but he doesn't want to fight too hard either. Oh, he's on the outside. He's just going to hold on. Kernow there didn't quite stick his nose alongside. He didn't do it at turn 5 either. And he might well have reached the brick wall now, where he's finding these overtakes a bit more difficult to come by.
Oh yeah, he's on a no man's land right now. I don't think he's going to be able to make that overtake. Only if I would say Baker makes a blatant mistake and allows Kernow to move in and make that overtake. Because otherwise, it's just hang on for dear life on those shreds until you do your pit stop.
Well, it could be a way away from that point. We've only just passed a quarter distance in this race, and look at the pressure Kernow's now putting on Baker, who's got to look forward here. He can't look in his mirrors too much as he needs to monitor Kernow in terms of where he's going down the inside or not. He's got to be wary that he's losing time up ahead here to Ken Miller and Josh Conker, who are also splitting apart a little bit right now as well. But here goes Kernow again. Is he going to let him go here, Baker? Or is that going to cause further pain later? He's not on the button. Kernow, as you can see, it's not lit up green. He is looking down the inside again, though, and he's going later on the brakes this time. Committed more this time as well. Side by side, and that's the only thing that Kernow really could do. He's got to take advantage of these tyres when he's on them. It's just unfortunate for Steve Baker that he's going to lose so much time now in this exchange.
Yeah, and he's going to open the door for Cranefuss to come in and try to make an overtake. But then again, you're in the closer part of the track. You're not going to find space. You have to make a mistake for you to allow Cranefuss or even J.R. Williams to come in and attempt an overtake. Otherwise, Kernow now holds all the cars despite being on a more worn reds compared to the primaries.
So this is where it gets awkward now, because Baker is looking faster again. Suddenly, as we reach lap 15, these reds could be going away from Kernow in just a lap or two, and then they've got to do the whole thing again, and they might well lose a whole load of time all over again. So it looks like we may be separating ourselves for a top 3 who are in contention for this race, very possibly. Daniel Cranefuss is right in behind. Then it's J.R. Williams, who's just in behind him. J.R. Williams, by the way, has made up 3 places so far in this race by not really overtaking anybody. He's just had a very quiet race, exactly the way to do it. He's up to 7th so far. But the biggest moving forward, just to let you know, it's Jordan Kernow. I guess you can put the red stripe tyres into the reasoning as to how he's managed that. But I think some of those 11 positions are going to start to come away, or 12 positions, I should say, are going to start to come away from Jordan Kernow pretty shortly. As these tyres go away from him, we're about to hit lap 15 and 1/3 distance in this race. Things could start to turn the other way as Dave Menino back in the background, setting fastest laps of the race, by the way. Still right behind Jake Vasconcelos, this time for 15th place.
And they both moved up as now Kernow into the pit lane.
It's the right thing to do, isn't it? It's what Baker was hoping for, I think.
Yeah, I think right now for Kernow, if I'm Kernow, bring your primaries do a full stint, and then come back out for the final laps of your race. If you're going 50 laps, do the remainder of your 50 laps. I don't know what it's going to be, you know, 24, then you might have at least 10 laps more so in terms of, you know, need to do laps on the reds. That's on the primary, that's on the optimal range for the primaries for you to use, so go on right ahead.
Let's see, as we go on to lap 16, he's come out right in between Vasconcelos and Menino as Jordan Kernow. That could be good if they work together. It could be really bad if they fight. And Menino has immediately overtaken him on the exit of turn 2. So Vasconcelos, Menino and Kernow are a very speedy trio running down the order at the moment, but where are they going to be by the end here? I don't even know if we're expecting Vasconcelos and Menino to go to the end, to be honest, considering they pitted so early.
No, I think they have to do more pit stops, but with the progress they're making so far, it's really surprising. Let's just say you're out but not out, you're down but not out. They're doing a really good job, you know, trying to still, let's say, stay relevant to the pack and still getting a little bit of fight and try to recover some points to the end of the championship.
Side by side down the straight here between Kranefuss and Baker. Maybe it wasn't just the tyre difference that Baker was struggling with. And Daniel Kranefuss, who's on the same compound, is going through here into 4th place. So it's going from, well, not bad to worse for Baker. It's not going too badly, but he is under a bit of pressure right now. That much is very certain. And JR Williams is next in the queue here. It is strange. Baker was right with the likes of Conker and Miller early on in this race, but all of a sudden he's starting to lose speed.
Yeah, but it's the slight drop off of the primaries. You know, it's a tire that becomes a little bit quicker towards the end of the stint compared to the alternates. But one thing I know is sometimes it gets sluggish during your mid portion, your transition from early to mid and your mid to somewhat late portion of your stint, that it can get a little bit sluggish. The car doesn't, you know, collaborate as much as you want, and that might be what's happening for Baker right there. He's feeling that, you know, car being a little bit more sluggish, and that's why Kranefuss is not feeling that effect as much as the Silk-Pack driver is actually feeling right now.
He's certainly struggling. He's still losing time to Michelin Green, by the way, who is still the fastest driver out on the circuit. Certainly was last time out. Fastest other than Jake Vasconcelos, who is a long way down at the moment. So it's going pretty well for Michelin Green in the lead of this race after being handed it, basically, by Greg Seitz and Dave Menino after their contact down in towards turn number 4. Greg Seitz, by the way, is out of the race as a result of that contact, as is Mark McDonald and Stephen Barrady, who are both out of the race as well after their separate incidents too. Through the final corners comes this battle for 4th place, and Kranefuss is not going to be feeling any pressure from Steve Baker. JR Williams is going to be trying to apply this pressure maybe to Steve Baker, but the way that JR has driven so far, I wouldn't expect him to be getting too aggressive in the mirrors here.
I think JR is just trying to save fuel for this time being, you know, he knows that Kranefuss and Baker are, you know, trying to get this out of a battle. The smartest idea is, you know, just save some fuel, not try to push the car over, not over-rotate too much the entry or an exit of the corner, so your back end is good. So safe race for JR. He's giving me 6th place. I have no problems with it.
Through the middle sector for these three. Just about 5 seconds, by the way, ahead of Adam McDonald, who's in 7th. Then Willie Brennan, who's in 8th place. He's gained 12 places now. He's the biggest mover in the field, apart from James O'Brien, actually, who's up to 13th place after starting right at the very back of the field. There is James O'Brien, winner of the last PRL series to be held on a Sunday, the NASCAR series, in a dramatic finale at Phoenix. And he's... excuse me, the penultimate round was at Phoenix. The final round was at Atlanta, of course, where he was able to take that championship. And he's not going to be particularly defending that here. I don't expect him to be as quick in an IndyCar as he is in a stock car, but he's going pretty well. I mean, 12 places gained so far in this race is not bad going.
Just having some fun, getting to know more of the car. Even though Team Hype, we know that Team Hype has a lot of, top-notch drivers, especially on road. We had like Phil Krause, you have like Joshua Chin, and so many other guys inside that crew that, can extract really well of a car on a racetrack, especially around Mid-Ohio, to be very honest.
Yeah, this is difficult to get used to for someone who's not quite a IndyCar regular.
Yeah.
So these three make their way down through the carousel and back out onto the straight again. Still consistent laps from Mitchell Ian Green at the front of this race. 109.0 that time. That was quickest of anybody, including those down towards the back who are in a bit cleaner air right now. This is a great showing at the moment from Mitchell Ian Green at the front of this race. 10 seconds is his lead, and he's approaching half distance now.
At 21 laps in his car, I would say that the drop-off was actually going to be a little bit more real, as now Vasconcelos goes up on James O'Brien. But the job that Ian Green is doing so far on his tires has been phenomenal. Just not giving any room for Conquer to get closer, or the normal jump off the Reds would having a lasting effect on him. Counterpoint though, I wonder if how much is Ian Green using in terms of what we just saw with that for a minute now, how much push to pass is actually using on that car to try to equalize on Josh Conquer, in my opinion.
Yeah, he will need some of it later, surely, if this comes down to a battle. Or indeed, even if it's just a battle for pace, he's going to need it. This is important for Dave Menino as well, to try and clear James O'Brien as quickly as possible. He wants to stay with Jake Vasconcelos here, and he needs to do it by getting past quite quickly, as Vasconcelos got very sideways just further up in front there. Menino having a look there through the S's. He's very close in behind, and he's now going to be giving this a go, looking up the inside through the penultimate corner. Now straightening it out for the final one, and there goes O'Brien, just pulls off to the side of the road, lets Menino through.
Hey, he knows it's not his fight, so I think O'Brien just did the gentlemanly thing, just let him go, not my fight, just try to stay in the track as long as I can, and maybe I'll get somewhere. That's the main thing, good stuff.
Absolutely. So this train continues to get bigger, actually. Back here, Nathan Ray is next in the queue. Driver who had that spin earlier on. These two, Vasconcelos and Menino, are the best placed of those who have stopped so far, even despite everything that's gone on for them so far in this race. They've managed to get themselves into a decent position, though I still think they might well both be using their drop rounds. Vasconcelos has not finished below 6th place yet this season, and Dave Menino's worst result was at round 2, just like Jake Vasconcelos' was. Menino finished in 10th place at Kansas, so both of them having that as their drop week so far, but at the moment they would both be taking their drop weeks as this round, which will save them from a little bit of grief, quite possibly, a little bit later on in the season. See if it does come down to just those two, of course, because Daniel Krenfors is only 23 points behind, and he is still right up there in 4th place. But very interesting situation with the 1 and 2 in the series, way down in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. One other thing I was wondering about Ian Green, I wonder how much in the anti-roll bar is actually using in the car. Why I say that is, normally when you drive on the Reds, you have and I'll grab this from a perspective, of saying, like, first you want to put the car as to the front as you can, so less anti-roll bar in the front. Then you want to progress that to more, up to 6, so you minimize the tire effect on that. I wonder how much he's using to keep consistent with those laps so late in this day.
Lap 24 is where we're at now, approaching half distance rapidly, as we are in terms of the minutes as well. So we're not sure whether we're going to be on 50 laps or an hour. Yeah, it's still very close. Vasconcelos, though, getting right towards the back now of Nathan Ray. He's going to try and get a good exit here and have a go in towards turn 4, very possibly. But he's a little bit of a way back at the moment. It's going to have to be a dive from back here. Oh, he has to think about it, but he doesn't go for it. And look at Menino closing in the background as a result of Vasconcelos here not able to get through on Ray, and now he's inviting pressure for himself.
That just makes things a little bit more difficult for himself so far. So that's what matters, you know. The one thing I'm saying about Jake, which is really good, he's staying cool and collected. He's not being fooled by the pressure that Menino is putting right behind him, resulting in a really good three-way fight so far we have right now on the track.
And this is another one of them. Krampus, Baker, Williams, and Baker going on the defensive this time round from J.R. Williams. It's not something I saw coming, but Baker there just taking a look to the inside of Krampus or making sure that J.R. Williams couldn't do the same to him. But either way, through the middle sector they will now come. And now over the rise at turn 9. Krampus got through pretty convincingly earlier, but looking less convincing now as we hit the halfway mark. Michelin Green is into the pit lane after a great opening stint on the red striped tyres. He is in, and Josh Conker follows him, as does Ken Miller as well as Dan Krampus too. So the top 4 all into the pit lane. Michelin Green now leaves pretty much as Conker gets into his box. There goes Green. And look at how far he is ahead of those who pitted very, very early. He's got a big lead to try and hang on to.
Yeah, he has his lead was about 8 seconds and a half. Conker was being lapping better on the last 3 laps in comparison to what Ian Green was doing. So I think it was obviously the way for Ian Green's mindset to go, you know, I'm pitting this a halfway, doing the full stint on the blinds and getting myself back on the track. Now the question is, the ball's on Conker's court. What does he do with that advantage that he lost a little bit right now on the exit of the pits? Because right now the gap is about 10 seconds from Ian Green to Conker as it stands.
Now, does Baker decide to follow them in? Surely he will do. No. Well, he carries on, as does J.R. Williams here. So the others splitting this race down the middle. These two deciding to carry on. Adam McDonald is in, though. Jake Vasconcelos, by the way, is about 16 seconds off of the lead. Dave Menino is now ahead of him, though. And he's about 15 seconds or so off of the lead. And Vasconcelos is off again. He's locked up through the carousel and he's avoided the barriers, but he's into the pit lane. His early stop has caught up with him and he's back into the lane for the second time this afternoon.
And who's off right there on the...
Adam McDonald. Oh no, excuse me, it's Nicholas Collender. Adam McDonald's also losing time, and I think he's just exiting the pit lane. Collender started from the pit lane in this race, by the way. Not sure why he was off the road at all.
Potential mistake coming out of turn number 1 right there. It's very common for you to, you know, that turn 1 curve right there usually can catch the car off course, especially with the dirt and everything. So that might have been the case right there for Collender when he came out of the pit lane.
Oh, wow, big spin, and yeah, he goes over to the other side of the circuit as well before spinning back round onto it. Here comes Steve Baker and J.R. Williams into the lane. The last 2 to pit in from the lead. And so Michelin Green goes through, whizzing through the bottom of your screen there. And he is now in the lead ahead of Josh Conker. And we're going to get a real reading as to what his margin is as well. When we see this, it is 10 seconds. It retains as Baker and Williams exit the pit lane. Menino's going to get through on them. Dave Menino is going to be racing for 4th here, and he's going to get it as well.
Yeah, but we still have to be mindful that Menino still has yet to pit. So that 4th place is basically, you know, doomed to disappear from Menino's hands. So there's a car off. Is that JR?
We will see.
Oh,
sorry, go on.
I think that's JR Williams that just gone off in turn number 2.
It looks like he's dropping down the order. So what has happened to JR? Oh, he's missing some of his front end as well here. What a disastrous start to his second stint here in this race. He was a bit further behind Steve Baker than he was before, actually, breaking his normal point, I think. He just goes too deep, straight on and straight into the wall.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he has some suspension damage as well on that car. Of course, the tires are not going to get wobbly, but definitely the behavior of this car will. Unfortunate to see that, but then it's the nature of those primaries. You cannot push the same way as you push on the alternate. Otherwise, you see what you just saw right there.
And there you go, J.R. Williams into the pit lane, only one lap after he was last in. That is a real shame for him. Nathan Ray is going to be up to 12th place. Jean-Marc Cormier is right behind him, trying to overtake him just for the moment. 10 seconds is still the margin for Michelin Green at the front of this race. What a drive he's doing so far over Josh Conqueror, who's now got it to dip below 10 seconds, but with the amount of laps remaining and the pace that Michelin Green has seemingly got, it's looking difficult to see how Conqueror or anybody else is going to get on terms with him here.
It's looking very unlikely that Conqueror actually gets around close and makes it overtake. You know what was the gap in terms of lap time from Green to Conqueror on that lap? 1,000 of a second. Actually, I was going to say 1,000 of a second, but I stand corrected. I think they just done another lap, so the difference is Green was faster.
Yeah, by a tenth and a half, yeah. As Jordan Cornow, meanwhile, Cornow is going to be under a lot of pressure throughout this stint. He is just ahead of Adam McDonald here. Will surely be trying to make light work of him, and there Kernow's just letting him through. Well, Kernow wasn't afforded quite such a luxury by those earlier on in the race, but he's giving them a favour. He's maybe overly nice there to Adam McDonald, but I guess realising that if he battles away, then he's likely to lose even more time, and it's a battle he's likely to lose anyway, so he's waiting for the race to come back to him a little bit later with just over 20 laps to go.
Yeah. But time's running out, though. You got to do something.
Well, he's still got a little bit of time to think about it. 20 laps, 23 minutes. I think it's I think it's going to be unbelievably close for whether how many laps we get, as Dave Menino now does make his second stop of the day, and we'll see where he comes out in relation to Vasconcelos, who, by the way, is down in 13th at the moment. So that's where he's aiming at. There is Jake Vasconcelos in the 10, looking to recover what he can from this race. He'll be on the red stripe tyres, as will Menino, who now finishes his stop and will be on his way, and he's already out the pit lane. So Menino is having a better race here than Vasconcelos. I guess the qualifying times of the two of them would suggest Menino is more comfortable around this circuit anyway, but he's certainly making that clear now.
Yeah, even though the fastest lap between them on the official series was basically nearly similar. I think Menino was slightly faster by 1/10 of a second in comparison to what Vasconcelos did. So it shows the readiness level of these guys so far, as Menino on the block is going to suffer a little bit more with natural speed. Might allow actually Vasconcelos to get closer if his car is good and provide us a really good battle maybe to the finish.
That's James O'Brien again. He's just past Jean-Marc Cormier. He's on the red stripe tyres, as you can see. And he has just made his 11th position in this race. That's not quite the most. Willie Brennan has got 12. But you'd have to say that James has probably got more opportunities to gain more places and maybe be the biggest mover forward here today. We'll see about that, though. So we've still got 18 laps to go when we next get to the line. This, meanwhile, is Nathan Ray versus Jake Vasconcelos. Good run there for Vasconcelos through turn 1 in this battle for 12th place. He's not. Oh, he is going to have a move at turn 2. That's very late on the brakes. Oh, he locks up, slides straight in front of Nathan Ray, and that was very decisive in the end.
Yeah, parked the car at the exit at the apex of the corner and blocked Ray's exit right there, and basically inhibited the 35 to actually get on the push to pass and do anything. He just created a gap. I don't know if Vasconcelos used some push to pass as well, but that's a nicely done overtake.
It was very decisive. Just shows you can be aggressive, even at this circuit, but you've got to be decisive with it as well. And it can work. Jake Vasconcelos does move up a place. I think of the two of them, Dave Menino is going to be most disappointed. Of course, they'll both be disappointed to have been involved in incidents here over the course of this race, but Dave Menino was quicker in qualifying. He's clearly quicker in the race as well. He's shown that since his accident, and he had an opportunity to put some real points into Jake Vasconcelos here, even before Vasconcelos had an incident himself. Menino, even on pure speed, had a chance to put quite a lot of points into the 10 car today, and he's just not been able to do that after the incident with Greg Seitz that he really could have avoided.
Yeah, basically this race is going to be that case of what could have been if not that, you know, in this situation, which is a little bit unfortunate. But then again, it's Mid-Ohio. I've seen so many lead battles wane away just because this track is so tricky for you to get around and do overtakes and side by side, and it's hard and it's not for the untrained. You cannot simply just come over here, basically do your last first challenge without even practicing and think everything's gonna be okay. No, it's the contrary.
At the moment, it's excuse me, tracking to be their worst results of the season, and their only finishes outside the top 10. So who is going to gain as a result? Well, Daniel Krampus most closely. He's third going into this race. And that's pretty much it, really, as far as those who can challenge for a title here seriously this season. Brandon Walter is next at 39 points back, but he's not here today. And his drop week was already round one, which is already a pretty bad score. James O'Brien as well, starting from the back, so he's behind them anyway. He's in 5th place in the championship. Jordan Kernow is 46 points back, and I suppose we'll be gaining a little bit, but not very many points there gained for him. Same for Willie Brennan, who's 50 points back. We're already getting a very defined look at maybe who's going to be fighting for the championship. It looks like it is going to be these two who are about to go into battle again.
And we know the advantage still on Vasconcelos' side with that tire as Kernow goes back into the pits one more time.
He's having a bizarre race, Jordan Kernow. He's going to drop behind these two, so it will now be the battle for 10th again. Dave Menino is no longer having his worst day of the season. It's only tied with Kansas. Worst road course, though, and now he's just going to let Vasconcelos through. Well, that is puzzling. Dave Menino letting his most serious championship rival go through on the outside line and giving up. Even, well, I suppose there are a lot of laps to go, I suppose, but even so, that is surprising that he wouldn't even attempt to try and keep Jake Vasconcelos behind him.
Yeah, I wonder also if there's anything regarding the incident points and things like that could get in the way of the number 3, but also natural pace. Vasconcelos is faster by more than a half a second on the number 3. Of course, that's mainly due on the tire compound difference. The primary being the slower tire naturally, so Vasconcelos is just making the battery usage out of it, and Menino smartly saying, I don't want any of it. And
I think the tire difference is it is going to be his defence. When somebody asks him why didn't you defend, he'll say, well, he was on better tyres anyway, there wasn't much point. But I would still argue with this amount of time remaining against that driver in particular, it'd be worth a go at defending, as James O'Brien has just been off in front of Jean-Marc Cormier and Jordan Kernow. So he's dropped behind them both, and now this is the battle for 13th place that we're following at the moment. Kernow back out onto the circuit again. I believe, yes, he is back on red stripe tyres. As Popman, meanwhile, gets himself down the inside of Brett Punkari, who we've not seen much of here today. He is now down another position, down to 9th place, because Kieran Popman slides right the way in front of him there.
And you can see Popman, some of the lines, a little bit more aggressive lines than Punkari just taking a little bit more safe, but still being able to retain some good advantage and good lead to the 649. So very good battle between them. Don't know who's the fastest driver coming out on top on this one, but still, good battle nevertheless.
Looks like he might be going the wrong way for Brett Pancari, unfortunately. And the man currently 15th place in the driver's standings. There he is, though. What is he? He's watching curling.
No,
What on earth is going on there?
It's that's not curling. That's the best sport ever made in, you know, winter history. I know that's curling, but I was just gonna say that's the best sport ever made in history. Thank you, Hugo, providing us the entertainment.
Have a look at that.
Do you mind
sweeping?
Do you mind?
A lot of sweeping.
How curling is?
Oh, he wants that to go very quickly. Look at that. Look at him go. Oh, it's early on in the game. They're just playing around for silly business here. Look at this. Anyway, let's get back to the race. Otherwise, we'll be far too interested in the curling match. And looks like Brett Pancari is about to host as well. I'm not sure why he set that up for us to watch, though, as Michelin Green, meanwhile, comes into the pit lane. I did notice in those last couple of laps, by the way. Oh, he's gone! He's gone! Oh, he was going to try and chase down the race leader, but surely all that's gone now. Michelin Green was going for the two-stop strategy, and I'm afraid it's all unravelled on the pit exit there as he tried to get the power down for a second time. It's all gone wrong, and Guillaume Potvin's going to make it worse as he goes down the inside for 7th place. Oh my goodness, Michelin Green's 3rd PRO win is slipping away from him here as he now has to repass Guillaume Potvin. He's got to make 7 overtakes in just 13 laps while catching over 20 seconds. Surely that's never going to happen now, and even so, it was probably unlikely after the pit stop anyway.
I did notice Conquer was being faster lap by lap, but that was not in my books.
Yeah, it was noticeable, wasn't it? There was a lap where suddenly Green was in the 1-minute 10s, and you thought this is not sustainable, and he thought so as well. But surely pitting here is not sustainable either.
100%.
Oh, whoa! Nearly off.
Yeah, just because the grass is green doesn't mean you have to go to the grass green. That's a little bit unfortunate. But then again, I'm mind-boggled right now, man. I'm truly...
Oh, it's starting to unravel for him now as he bounces over the grass on the right-hand side. He drops to 9th. Oh, it's going from bad to worse for Michelin Green. He's already a little bit rattled by the spin out the pit lane and another couple of mistakes afterwards as well. He's going to do well to even salvage a top 5 from here.
I'm mind-boggled, man. Don't get me wrong, but here's the thing, Ewan. I've done two-stop strategies on in similar situations. It worked out for me, but this track is a little bit different. You kind of have to commit to your strategy, even though it might not be the best strategy. And unfortunately, that spin coming out of pit lane, we saw that before. And unfortunately, it is biting him really hard in the rear, and he's going to lose all the points he could have gotten in this race, man. I'm surprised.
This is very close for Brett Pancari now, and in towards turn 1 again. He's down the inside and he's through. This is where it's unravelled for him on the last couple of laps, and he's just taking a little bit more easy this time. You can see that because Pancari has come back at him again on the outside at turn 2. He's going to have to go a long way around there, though. He'll have to search for the cutback if possible. But on the older tyres, he isn't going to manage it. And so Michelin Green's up to 8th place. And to be honest, it will be the most interesting car to follow, I think, for the remaining 10 laps, because he'll be looking to regain those places again.
Yeah, he will. One other thing, though, I would say, did not leave Ken Miller out of this fight. I know Josh is really fast, but I've noticed some places in this track there has been somewhat of an inconsistency to Josh's laps in this race, and this can allow the 17 to come closer and make a battle right here in this track, as there is a little bit of a battle between Team Hype and JR Williams in the SRT orange.
That's going to be a free position there for a few as Potvin pits in. Vasconcelos and Menino included, by the way, as JR Williams is back out onto the circuit again with a new front wing. And he's now in 14th place with James O'Brien just in behind him. He'll be kicking himself after that mistake that he made on the way towards turn 2. He's going to be quite close to getting 13th here from Popman. Let's hope he doesn't spin up the rear tyres here on the way out. He has not, but J.R. Williams has got through into 13th place that he will now try and defend in the last 10 laps.
And another thing, after what happened to Vasconcelos on lap 1, was it in your books he would have made it into the top 10?
Certainly not, no. And same for Menino, by the way, a few laps later.
Yeah, same. Meanwhile, gap down to 1.5 in the lead.
Yes, last time round, Ken Miller gained 5 tenths over Josh Conker, and Steve Baker gained 7 tenths. So this is all concertinaing right at the very end here as Josh Conker searches for his first win of the season. As Michelin Green also searches for 6th place on the way towards turn 1, and he was on the inside line. I think Willie Brennan was trying to let him have that. Now he is in towards turn 2. And Michelin Green, I think, is making his last overtake here. What could be his last overtake anyway of this race.
Yeah, most likely the gap is quite big to Adam McDonald right in front. About 9 seconds for him to work. It's doable, 9-8 seconds. He can do that, but with so little less to go, it's, I would say, unlikely for that to happen. So focus on Conker and Miller. I think that should be a really good catch-up battle until they're into the finish flag.
And the gap's just tumbled below a second suddenly there. So Josh Conker versus Ken Miller could absolutely be on here. 6 tenths of a second gained last time round as well by Ken Miller. Have a look at this. On board, he's got Josh Conker in his sights, and this would be a surprise. Josh Conker seemed to be in control ever since Michelin Green came into the pit lane, but maybe there is more to this story. Ken Miller is closing in, and he's got enough laps to think about possibly winning this one.
Yeah, but he cannot rely. Dave Baker is not far behind. His laps have been very consistent with both of them. So leave 1 or 2 laps with these guys battling. Steve Baker is also a factor in this podium finish battle for this race.
Let's see. Josh Conker, by the way, has won 5 times before in the PRL, but not this season. He's looking for number 6 here tonight, ahead of Ken Miller. With 7 laps to go at the line. It looks like he's gathered himself free. Oh, no, he's not going to gather himself at all. He's off. He's off through the carousel. And Ken Miller's going to lead this race. Steve Baker's going to be up to second very nearly. It was just starting to unravel for Josh Conker, and I'm afraid it probably has now. He's rolled out the red carpet here for Ken Miller, who's into the lead of this race by just over a second. And Steve Baker's going to try and take advantage of this as well now, as he's right on the back of him in towards turn 2. There's going to be another chance down towards 4. He's not quite going to have the exit, though, with that line. And all of a sudden, Josh Conker has gone from the defender to the attacker, and he's got to chase Ken Miller back again. He's just gone wide through the carousel. Well, I don't want to say unforced error, but an error you would not have expected to see from Josh Conker, who's now on the chase to try and get this race win back again.
Well, when I say Mid-Ohio deliver races, well, I wasn't wrong. But then again, I didn't expect to Conker's car, behave in a way like that, going to the carousel and in the left-hand side, just basically stay non-compliant into the steering input. So that's a little bit unfortunate for Conker right there, but he has about 5-6 laps-ish to get back on Ken Miller and maybe win this race again. Question is, the tires? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's going the wrong way for Conker, and it was going the wrong way for quite a few laps before then. You could see, by the way, the residual fear as well that you get through the corner that he'd went off at. He lost 2 or 3 attempts just through the carousel that time round, Conker, because he was quite worried about the same thing happening again. So that is going to be there for the remaining part of this race as well. And suddenly, Ken Miller has got a great chance to win this one. Meanwhile, Michelin Green is under threat from Willie Brennan again for 6th place. That was quite brief on the way towards turn 2. Michelin Green is in 6th place still, ahead of Willie Brennan and holding on. But he's one of a myriad of different leaders we've had here today. What a topsy-turvy race in so many ways.
Yeah, the biggest roller coaster of emotions in this championship so far. I would say this, of all the two races I've commentated here on PRL Fixed IndyCar Series, I would say this is the more dramatic one in comparison to what happened at Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, this is bizarre at times, but thoroughly entertaining as well. Baker right on the back of Josh Conqueror again, though. He's just not getting the exits that he needs, really. He's good on the entry to turn 2, but that's no good, really. You need to be getting the run out of the corner here and giving it a go towards turn 4, but he's not close enough this time.
I wish we knew how many seconds of push to pass they still have left.
Yeah, it does feel like it would be important if one of them had run out, but I suppose we'd probably notice it in the way that it behaves in the last 4 laps or so. The thing about these 3 is that they haven't actually been in many battles so far this race, so they might actually be quite good for seconds to go.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, but I think Conquer, I would say, probably has used a little bit more to try to keep up with the in green back when he was in the lead. That I think at a certain point of the track, I would say Baker might have the leverage over the number 54 of the team hype guy, but then again, I do not know how much the 2 has left in this race after he's actually done with the keyhole right here. Late braking.
It's a better line from Baker for an exit, but Conker's got that exit absolutely down, nailed through turn 2. 3 laps to go when we get to the line. We've just 4 minutes left in the race as well, so it's going to be very close. But it looks like we are going to get all 50 scheduled laps into the hour. And what a 50 laps it has been. We've crossed over 55,000 kilometres in open wheel PRL competition, by the way, as I was talking about earlier on. That's over 1 time around the world and another third.
Okay.
Nearly another half. It's a very, very long way indeed.
I'll take that. By the way, I like what Baker is doing. Did you see that he didn't use the push to pass way too much coming out of the corner? He knew that Conquer was basically blasting through that outside of the corner. Basically, that's giving him, I would say, 5 or 6 seconds more of, I would say, in total of push to pass in comparison to Conquer per lap. That's 12. You can basically use an abuse in a few sections right here. So for Baker right now, he's doing a fantastic job, you know, keeping up with Conquer right now, using the draft to the best of his abilities, and then maybe to the final 2 laps of this race on 49 to 50, then he can fully use the remainder of his push to pass that he has left to try to do an overtake on the number 54.
Unless he's already run out, in which case there is a big problem, but I would be surprised.
Yeah, same. I think ever since the 200 seconds ever been implemented, I've never seen it run out properly in an IndyCar race. Open or fixed, in my opinion.
Yeah, it would be a big surprise, but Conquer is certainly using the button in these last few laps. You can see, by the way, he's getting closer to Ken Miller, but Miller's just keeping him at arm's length at the moment here. He's doing a good job. 1.3 seconds is his advantage. Baker's pressure on Conquer can't be helping the driver, the 54, either. The gap extended by another half-tenth that time round. Miller closing in on his first ever PRL win, very possibly, as Baker has a look at the inside there at turn 2. But Conquer again. Oh, now he's got a bit wide. He's got his nose down the inside there, Baker. There could be a chance here. This surely is going to give Miller the chance to run away entirely, but Baker now has got a golden opportunity to take second place away from Josh Conquer, and he's going to be on the grass to try and get it. Unbelievable. Oh, he's not going to be down the inside. He didn't quite get there, but that was commitment. If ever you needed to know how hard these guys want it here for second place, Steve Baker there on the grass trying to get that podium place.
Yeah. That's a really hard defense from Conquer right there on Baker. And Baker, you know, rightfully not over pushing for an overtake over there on the entry of the roller coaster, and basically, you know, staying there to survive for one more battle. Final lap.
White flag is waving. One more lap to go here at Mid-Ohio. And Ken Miller is closing in on his first ever win in the PRL by the looks of things here, with Conker holding on to second place as of right now. I'm not sure Baker's got very much push to pass left, to be honest with you, but let's see. He's certainly nowhere near as close through turn 2 this time round. They're going to absolutely empty the push to pass now at the very end of this race, and Baker will just run that absolutely dry towards turn 4, but he's not close enough. His real chance was on the penultimate lap. He'll look back at that and think that was my opportunity, and it certainly was for Steve Baker. And he has another look through turn 6 there, but it's not going to work. It's going to be Ken Miller, though, out front in a topsy-turvy race. He qualified in 4th place outside of the second row and kept himself to himself early on. Let the others lead. Michelin Green fell by the wayside with a pit strategy and a spin. Josh Conker went off the road at the carousel. Greg Seitz and Dave Menino crashed into each other. And there to pick up all the pieces is Ken Miller out of the final corner. Ken Miller wins at Mid-Ohio and takes his first ever win in the PRL here at round 4 in the INDYCAR Fixed Series. What a drive from Ken Miller. 1.6 seconds is margin at the end in a very topsy-turvy race that includes the championship rivals Jake Vasconcelos and Dave Menino finishing down in 9th and 10th. Somewhat remarkably, Jake Vasconcelos is going to finish where he started this race despite his incidents, and he's going to almost spin himself across the line with his main rival Menino rounding out the top 10. What a bizarre and entertaining race.
Yeah, I think we got a little bit of everything that Mid-Ohio can actually throw at us, even, you know, good action, strategies, the different strategies coming into the light over here in this race. Lots of drama, lots of action, and an unlikely winner, but one that definitely the spectators, and I can see, you know, comments on YouTube chat, definitely happy with Ken Miller winning his maiden race. Not maiden race, but the maiden win here at PRL.
Absolutely. A very popular win indeed for Ken Miller, who holds on from Josh Conker, previous race leader, and Steve Baker, who was trying to get second at the end there as well. Daniel Kremfus is probably the biggest winner in the championship today. He finished in 4th place instead of Adam McDonald. Michelin Green will be feeling bitterly disappointed to have thrown that one away. He finishes 6th ahead of Brett Pancari and Willie Brennan. Jake Vasconcelos and Dave Menino are still separated by just a few points in the championship. They finished 9th and 10th. Guillaume Potman finished 11th ahead of Nathan Ray, Jordan Curnow, James O'Brien and Gerald Williams of those who were on the lead lap. John Montgomery got to lap fairly late on there, along with Richard Swindows, Brett Furman, Lucas Santos and Carsten Quint, rounding out those in the top 20. And then Nicholas Collender also who finished, but Greg Seitz, Mark McDonald, Mark Kelly and Stephen Varady did not. Let's have a chat to our race winner, Ken Miller. Welcome in, Ken. Good to have you with us. Congratulations on what we believe to be your first PRL victory. Just what do you make of that race? There were so many different race leaders. You eventually were the one at the very end, at the very most important time when the checkered flag was waved. What do you make of that race?
Honestly, I'm speechless right now. A lot of chaos. Just tried to keep my head down and focus on my race. Josh made it a heck of a battle, honestly, throughout that. So props to him, and it was just fantastic.
Lots of people falling by the wayside due to spins or whatever, especially out of pit lane, actually. But how difficult was this car to control over the course of an hour, just keeping it on the road?
Honestly, hards were fairly easy, but once you switched over to soft, it was really about tire management. I just tried to keep my line and keep what I was doing in practice, and it worked out. It worked great, and it was a tricky one for sure.
I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but you're very popular in our YouTube channel at the moment. Lots of people watching who are in support of you. Just tell us a little bit about that and how it feels to bring home the win here tonight for that.
Honestly, it feels great. Shout out to my family and friends. Huge Discord channel is doing a watch along. So honestly, it's great to have the support, and I couldn't do this without them.
You're making our YouTube chat look like a watch along for you as well. So there you go. There you go. But we're not complaining. Congratulations on the win, Ken, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Ken Miller there, the winner tonight at Mid-Ohio, just ahead of Josh Conker, who couldn't quite chase him down and pass him towards the end. Welcome in, Josh. Good to have you with us. Just tell us about that mistake, first of all, the carousel that handed the lead over to Ken Miller, and then your efforts to try and get that lead back again.
Yeah, it was a tough race. I struggled with the car the entire race. The fixed setups are not ideal for driving, that's for sure. So I struggled with the car. I didn't do any practice this week, which is the reason I made so many mistakes. So if anybody, thinks they can do a race without practice, I do recommend you do practice, because I made way too many uncharacteristic mistakes because of that. But yeah, I mean, it was a good overall race. Drove forward and had really good pace. Just a lack of practice. And I went back and watched the replay. I broke half a cart too deep, and that was the difference there.
What about the defence there at the end on Steve? He was coming at you on the penultimate lap especially, but never really got that close. How confident were you that you were going to hang on to second?
Yeah, I was just trying to just trying to look forward. You never want to be looking in your rearview mirrors at all, especially when you're trying to hunt the guy down. But I didn't use push to pass down the back straight. I did every other lap before that after I made the mistake. And I knew not using push to pass, I was going to leave myself vulnerable. But watching fuel, make sure we could make it to the end on the one stop that I'd saved enough. And, B, trying to save a little bit just in case there was an opportunity there at the end to fight for the win.
Well, still 6 places gained away qualified, which is a good result. So congratulations on second tonight, Josh, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much. Josh Conker there, second place here tonight at Mid-Ohio, as ahead of Steve Baker. He couldn't quite get past him towards the end. Welcome in, Steve. Good to have you with us. Qualified third, finished third. Lots of position changes between the green flag and the checkered flag, though. Tell us a bit about your thoughts of that race.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. We kind of played the fuel strategy on that first run to have a little bit better tires on the end, and it seemed to have worked out there until a few laps left.
How was it trying to get past Josh there? You were on the grass at one stage trying to get through.
Yeah, I have to go check the replay. I wish there was more room to avoid cars rejoining the racing line there at the tail end of, I don't know if it was lap 47 or whatever, but that one, and then a little bit of evasive action there on the second straightaway, hitting the grass. But yeah, third's a great finish. Super thrilled to have the fuel strategy work out, and glad the car came back clean.
Absolutely. First top 5 and first podium for you this season. Congratulations on that, Steve, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Steve Baker, third place here tonight at Mid-Ohio. Well, what a topsy-turvy but brilliant race that was. 50 laps here at Mid-Ohio for round 4 of the IndyCar Fixed Series here at Lorenzo. We didn't really know where to look at that one. Gateway in 1 week's time is going to be a very, very different race indeed.
Oh, it's going to be a 100% different race. It's a very interesting oval for you to go on. Very easy for you to make mistakes, especially on turn 1 and 2. 3 and 4 you can kind of take a little bit more in a groovy fashion, but I think this is going to be another race where the car is going to be up close, especially in the top 4. I can wait to see what's going to happen next week.
There is your race winner, Ken Miller, taking victory for the very first time in the PRL here in round 4 of the PRL IndyCar Series. A brilliant race. Thanks very much for your company here tonight. I've been Ewan Deliri alongside Lorenzo Bonner. Hugo Luis has been behind the cameras. We will be back in 1 week's time from Gateway for round 5 of this series, but don't forget, still 4 more nights of racing this week in the PRL, starting tomorrow with the LMP3 GT4 Challenge coming to you live from Barcelona. Same time, same place here on RaceSpotTV. Very much hope to see you then. For now though, it's goodbye, and we'll see you in 1 week's time at Gateway.